how nice a bike this has been. And this type of bike, it's a Giant Sedona DX, which they don't sell anymore, but it's a comfort bike. It has the higher handlebars. It does have a suspension fork, although it's pretty much just like a elastomer, or I don't even know what's in there. It's not very good. It is adjustable, but I've put so many miles on this bike training for racing, and it has never let me down. The only thing that's ever happened to it is the rear brake cable almost broke. It got so frayed that I had to take it to my local bike shop and have a new cable put in. But to have, morning. To have a platform that allows you to get exercise and do it enjoyably, you know, without being so leaned over, you know, on handlebars that are way down here or something. It's just, I enjoy riding this bike, and I only paid like, I think I paid 650 bucks for this bike. But, you know, it's amazing how much better you feel in general, you know, when you keep your body fit, you don't get out of breath, you don't get as tired as easily. Nothing special. Like I said, it's got cheap forks on it. I put a little bike computer on it that's wireless. Have something here to fix my flats if I'm, you know, which has happened. You know, you'd be 6 miles away from your vehicle and you get a flat, you got to do something. Got a little pump. So this bike allows me to go distance. One major upgrade was a suspension seat. This is the Sun Tour suspension seat. Highly recommend that for $100. Even a kickstand, it works occasionally. But I mean, it even has, I think it's like 21 gears. I don't use all these gears. I leave it in the middle chain ring up front, and that's all I use. It's low enough for me for what I need to do, climbing hills and whatnot. And if you've watched any of my other videos, I even raced this bike in one of the Mid-Atlantic Super Series races, and I didn't do too bad. I came in 8th out of 24 for my age group, and that was my first race on this 39-pound bike. So it's a good bike. I really enjoy it. And then, you know, when it comes to having a fun ride, whether I take this or my, you know, lighter bike, you know, this being more upright, I can ride this further and be more comfortable. And for me right now, at my age, that's the whole name of the game, is just to get outside, enjoy this, you know, and get some exercise. And that's pretty much it, other than countless flat tires that I've had, which I've also figured out a way to patch them. And in fact, the rear tire that I'm riding on now went flat probably about 400 or 500 miles ago, and I've been riding on it ever since, and it's held up good with just those slime patches that you can buy. But these bikes, you know, there's something to be said about a mountain bike. Yeah, if you're gonna ride in terrain that's really rough, you know, full suspension or even decent front forks is a good thing to have. And I like the fact that it wheelies. I like to ride wheelies. First thing I did when I bought this bike was I took it out in the parking lot to see if I could ride a wheelie on it. And it does wheelie. And it wheelies nice. So, 54 years old, I still like to do wheelies. But you gotta find something that gets you out of breath. If you want to stay healthy and have endurance. Doing 17 right now. 18. In the last, I'd say 2 years, I'm doing it more, I guess you could say, religiously. What do you got there? Mr. Turtle. Little box turtle. How you doing, pal? I get run over in the middle of the trail. Yeah, stuff like that, you know. It's heavy, which for me, I don't mind, because my race bike is only 21 pounds. This is 39 pounds. So to me, this is almost like, you know, I get on my race bike and I'm like, it's a feather. Whereas I'm so used to pedaling this, you know, my legs are stronger from pedaling this. So it doesn't matter to me as far as the weight goes. Even the tires. This is the second set of tires I put on this bike, and I put the same exact tires on it that came on it stock, because they're decent. They got enough tread for this kind of stuff. They have a very high center section, so they even do good on pavement, you know. And I don't think many people can say that about, I don't think there's probably anybody on this planet that's put as many miles on a giant Sedona as I have, because I ride this thing every other day, and I'm usually doing a minimum of 10, sometimes 20, you know, as I'm training. So the bike has held up really good, and it's definitely reinforced my opinion of Giant and their quality. Only one I've ever had, but got nothing bad to say about it. And as far as doing this for a sport, I mean, even not doing it is competitive to race, but just to stay healthy. It's changed my body dynamic. I've lost weight. I've kept it off. Not that I was big to begin with, but even, you know, my wife has made comments from pictures from like 10 years ago. It's like I look so much better now than I did when I was 10 years younger. And, you know, it's all because of this, you know. And I like to do it. That's the other thing, you know. You got to find something that you like to do. Otherwise, you're not going to do it. But I'll stop up here and I'll do a quick look at the bike. But yeah, this has been such a great bike for me. You know, it's just made very well. Even though the components are cheap, they've held up, and nothing has broken or disappointed me, except, like I said, the rear brake cable and its discs. It does have disc brakes, and they're pretty decent. You know, they work pretty well. And I'm using the rear most of the time. So, but the front, the way I set it up is, if I pull this in all the way, it still won't lock the front wheel. So it's kind of like a poor man's anti-lock brake. So if I do have to grab a handful of it, it's not going to lock it up and dump me. Because, you know, if anybody who rides, you know, you lock the front brake up in a turn and you're getting slammed. So when you come around a corner and somebody's right in your face, you know, there's lots of times in here where you're doing panic stops, you know, for people and kids and dogs and stuff. But I think this is the large size. I'm 6 foot. This is the large size. But there's many companies that still make bikes similar to this. I mean, some are a little more hardcore with the flatter bars and stuff, but you don't have to spend a lot of money, you know, especially if you're just getting into it, you know, to go dump $2,000 or $3,000 on a bike. You don't have to do that if you're just trying to get exercise. It's not necessary. So, but yeah, and it's a good bike. I like it. Now again, where I'm riding is mostly just fast, flowy, mostly flat, like this. Roots, a little bit of roots, about the only couple trees down here and there. But you know, of course, on a full suspension bike or something with better forks, you could go faster through the roots, but it doesn't hinder me so much that I don't want to take this bike. I find myself always grabbing this bike just to go ride. I run about, these tires obviously have tubes in them because this is not a mountain bike, but I run about 32 to 35 psi in the tires. Makes it a little harsh on the roots, but it gives good efficiency when you really want to go fast. And you know, I run Strava, and I've set times on this bike that are faster than my race bike on certain sections. A little uphill there. I guess one of the things too I love about this is I can go distance, you know. I can go park my truck somewhere, get on this and go 20 miles, you know, deep into the woods. See, these are roots that kill you. Full suspension would be good for that. But as long as there's not too many of them, you deal with a few here and there. It's not that bad. The suspension seat post helps a lot. You get your front wheel over the big ones. You lift up your front wheel. But like this morning, I'm probably gonna do 20. You know, before it gets too hot. It's end of June here. Stuff's starting to really get overgrown. But like even like this stuff, this soft sand, you know, these tires will do it. Not as good as a mountain bike, but up here you'll see it gets really a little bit deep, almost like beach sand. But having grown up on motorcycles, this is just natural for me, being on two wheels. I like to go fast, so this suits me, especially in here being mostly flat. This is a state park, and if you know the trails that aren't so frequently used and times of day to ride, like early morning like this, it's a Wednesday, there's not many people in here. You don't have to worry about dogs or kids getting in your way. But I mean, I've always ridden bikes, but to stay in shape, and like I said earlier, you gotta find something you enjoy or you're not going to do it. Some people, that's really hard to do. I guess I got lucky. It's a shame what happens to this lake every year. The runoff from the nearby farmers' fields, the fertilizer, makes the algae go crazy. By middle of July, you won't even be able to see the water. It'll just be solid green. I've even read that there's a correlation between muscle strength in your legs and heart attack, you know, reducing the risk of heart attack and even recovery from heart attacks. It's just something I read. I wouldn't take it as gospel, but it kind of makes sense. I mean, if the muscles in your legs are strong, it seems to me that your body would be more efficient at flowing blood around your lower extremities. I'm going to totally squeeze that lever all the way and lock it up, and it won't skid the front wheel even in this dirt. I don't know if you saw that or not. I'll do it again. Just a little trick. Morning. Morning. All right, ready. Morning.
Good morning.
The one thing I will say is, you know, not having to get the most expensive, up-to-date, latest, greatest bike, but some of the gear is important. Obviously gloves, you know, always wear gloves. These ones have little pads in it, helps with your hands going numb. Also the shoes, you know, I was riding in hiking boots for a while. I was having issues with the balls of my feet going numb, and I got these Ride Concept. They have they call it D30. There's a material that's in the bottom that's, they use it in armor for like motorcycles and stuff, and what it does is it's kind of soft, but if you watch my video on knee pads, you'll see what I'm talking about. But when it takes an impact, it changes its structure and stiffens up, and that stopped my feet from going numb, having that in the bottom, in the soles of my shoes. So they're not cheap, but if you're gonna do a lot of miles, I'd highly recommend a good shoe. Trails like this, you gotta watch people. Some of these blind corners get a little sketchy. But another cool thing is, if you have the Strava app and you download that to your phone, pretty much anywhere you ride, there's going to be segments. And if not, you can always make your own, where you can compare your times, you know, your top speed, your average speeds, how many calories you're burning, how much energy you're producing, and it's free. You don't have to pay for it. You can pay for it and get a subscription if you want additional info, but you don't have to. Trails, I guess you gotta watch. There's a lot of people because they're adjacent to the campsites, but morning.
Morning.
Case in point. The worst part is when somebody's jogging and they got headphones in, and you yell at them like 4 times that you're coming up behind them and they never hear you. They got the volume up so loud. So I just try and pass them as quick as I can, and it usually scares the living crap out of them, which, you know, morning. You know, that's their issue. I almost want to put a GoPro facing backwards and catch some of these encounters just for laughs, you know. People are just oblivious. Uphill, a little downhill. In the winter, it's not too bad. You can, you know, see through the foliage, but in the middle of summer like this, makes for a lot of blind corners. Some turns you really gotta slow down because it could go south. But I will say one thing though, compared to riding this type of bike, if you're not experienced versus a mountain bike, I had bought my wife a hybrid, had skinnier tires on it, and she would ride in here and did not have a good experience, you know. Hated the soft sand. The bike didn't have any suspension, so the roots were rough. So one day I got my race bike and I let her ride that, just put the seat all the way down, and she was amazed at how much more confident she was and felt with the lighter bike and the knobby tires, running tubeless, you know, no sliding in the turns, going over the soft sand so easily. So I'm very close to purchasing another bike, a full suspension bike that I can also train on, but that I can let her ride, because I want to get her into it more, you know, with me, because she enjoys it. You know, she doesn't ride the pace I do, but that's fine. I don't always have to ride, you know, like I'm prepping for a race. You know, some days like today, I'm just going for distance. I just want to take it easy. And just the fact that I can talk while I'm going, you know, 12, 13, 14 miles an hour, I'm not out of breath. So anytime I ride now, I always wear the padded bike shorts underneath my regular shorts. It's just a comfort thing. Even with this suspension seat post and this nicer seat, I still wear padded shorts. It's just, why not if you got them? So we're coming up on 11 miles now. We're at 13. Still cool out. Probably like an hour in, I would say. 20 miles.